Inside South Asia with me, Bhairavi Singh. Election season is now in full swing and Jammu and Kashmir is seeing a renewed surge in voter enthusiasm. Those are visuals from Gulmarg that hosted the mega voter awareness event. And well, lots on the show tonight. Our election highlights continue from India after Maldives, murmurs of protests in Bangladesh's opposition parties against India. And just what is India doing in the solar energy sector to spruce up renewable energy? Here are the highlights. First up on the show, a tiny island in the Park Strait between India and Sri Lanka, Katchatheevu, is at the center of a political storm. A finding says the then Indian government gifted away Katchatheevu to Sri Lanka in 1974 against India's interests. It is festering today as a flashpoint for the fishing community, besides becoming an election issue for the Prime Minister to attack the Congress and the DMK in Tamil Nadu. So what exactly is at the center of this controversy? Find out.
On the face of it, a little more than a rock in the middle of the deep blue sea. Katchatheevu is a 285-acre uninhabited speck in the Park Strait between India and Sri Lanka, a 1.6 kilometer in length and slightly over 300 meters wide at its broadest point. It lies about 33 kilometers from the nearest Indian coast point and 24 kilometers away from the inhabited Delft Island belonging to Sri Lanka. A right to information finding reveals that Katchatheevu was signed away to Sri Lanka by India in 1974. In 1976, an understanding between the two for fishing on either side was also removed. Sri Lanka has arrested 6,184 Indian fishermen and detained 1,175 Indian fishing vessels since then. Indian Prime Minister Modi finds ammo to attack both the Congress and Tamil Nadu party DMK on the matter, adding the nepotism and double standards twist to the issue. Eye-opening and startling new facts reveal how the Congress callously gave away Katchatheevu, Modi tweets, adding Congress and DMK are family units. They only care that their own sons and daughters rise. They don't care for anyone else. Their callousness on Katchatheevu has harmed the interests of our poor fishermen and fisherwomen in particular. The DMK on its part questions the timing. Why has Katchatheevu been raked up now in election season?
Last 10 years, you were here in power. What have you done? Why the BJP is evading this question? Why the BJP is doing this now? Because they know that they are going to face a rout in the state of Tamil Nadu and they will not be able to win 150 seats across the country. So they want to take up issues which will divert the main issue, which is the electoral bond scam.
Experts, however, say Katchatheevu will have little resonance as an election issue in Tamil Nadu.
People have moved on from Katchatheevu for last 50 years. This has not, periodically cropped up. It was a political issue earlier, especially when the Indo-Sri Lanka, when the ethnic problem and the Elam war was raging in Sri Lanka. Yes, because Indian fishermen were being shot and all that by Sri Lankan Navy. So people were upset and there was talk that we should get back this island. But in the last 10-12 years, there has not been any major issue.
Like the giving away of Aksai Chin to China by India's first Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru, the signing away of Katchatheevu Island will continue to fester as a political and election tool. How potent and how effective, though, remains to be seen.
Well, India has a neighborhood-first policy towards nations in South Asia, a policy that pushes for economic and cultural ties, one that is more often than not under attack by China's string of pearls policy of encirclement. evident by the protests for and against India among political parties, governments and opposition leaders in India's neighbourhood. The latest comes from Bangladesh, where the opposition BNP is asking for an India Out campaign. Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina issued a scathing rebuttal to the opposition's call to boycott India. Referring to the deep trade ties with India, Hasina asked the BNP leaders to burn their wives' saris before asking the country to sever ties with India.
I have a question for those leaders talking about boycotting Indian products. Their wives have some beautiful Indian saris, then why don't you get those saris and burn them?
Hasina recently won her fourth consecutive term in office in Bangladesh. Her critics and the opposition have called the elections rigged and influenced by India's strong support for Hasina. But this is a charge not restricted to neighbour Bangladesh. Every country in South Asia is being wooed by India and China, and for many it's a delicate balancing act. India has for decades maintained a neighbourhood-first policy, but China's aggressive debt diplomacy has forced countries to choose sides. China is a hefty global player who has more often than not made inroads in India's exclusive spheres of influence. Take, for example, Sri Lanka, where a project was transferred from China to India to build power generation facilities in the island nation. In March, Lanka confirmed that the project would be funded by an 11 million Indian government grant. India also scored a win over China in January when the island nation said it would not allow Chinese research vessels to dock at its ports or operate within its exclusive economic zones. However, in April, Lanka announced that both its strategic Hambantota port and the Colombo airport will be developed by China. This after the recent visit of the Lankan Prime Minister Gunawardene to China. China accounts for 10% of Lanka's foreign debt and was leased the Hambantota port after the South Asian nation was not able to repay its loan. The change of guard in the Maldives has meant that the Moisu government is increasingly leaning on China. It has also signed a defence pact with China while asking all Indian troops to leave the island nation. But India accounts for the largest number of tourists to the island nation, and amid the backlash from the opposition, Malé has toned down the rhetoric. And despite Mohammad Moisu's recent actions, India has increased its development aid to Maldives at 771 crore rupees. One of it is a 500 million assistance aimed at improving roads and highways in the country. On to another of India's neighbours, Nepal. The Himalayan state has been India's closest friend in the region for decades, sharing cultural and economic ties. But the recent move by Pushpa Kamal Dahal that dumped a Delhi-leaning coalition partner for KP Oli, known to be a staunch China ally, has many worried. India is aware of China's policy of encirclement and has adapted to it. The Indian Prime Minister was also in Bhutan last week in a bid to strengthen age-old ties amid concerns of Chinese encroachments and the possible Sino-Bhutanese territorial agreement. India has so far offered 308 lines of credit worth over $32 billion to various partners in Asia and Africa, and over 600 development projects in Asia. As the saying goes, you can't change your neighbours. And India's neighbours must be wary of China's string of pearls strategy as they aim to balance their relationship between two global giants. And well, as campaigning season in India draws to its peak, we focus this week on some women who've made a big enough splash, not particularly as leaders of political parties, but as spouses and kin of political heavyweights making headlines. Take a look.
Not really the best of orators, but notice the lineup behind her.
भारत में ये तानाशाही नहीं चलेगी. हम लड़ेंगे, जीतेंगे.
Sunita Kejriwal stands among leaders of the opposition India bloc at its rally against the centre. Her husband, Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal, is in jail for alleged corruption, holed up by India's Enforcement Directorate. Sunita Kejriwal, who operates from the Chief Minister's office, seems to have even found some level of acceptance as a possible de facto Chief Minister of Delhi. Also on the dais at the same rally, Kalpana Soren, the wife of former Jharkhand CM Hemant Soren, who suffered a fate similar to Kejriwal's. Here's another image that stands out. Kalpana Soren called on Sunita Kejriwal in New Delhi. Their bonhomie was certainly a show of unity against what their husbands' parties call the centre's misuse of probe agencies.
The incident that took place in Jharkhand 2 months back, the same is now going on in Delhi. Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal has also been sent to jail, just like my husband Hemant Soren. I met Sunita Kejriwal ji and we decided that we would fight against this.
Onto a political battle between two women of the same family. Maharashtra Deputy CM Ajit Pawar's Nationalist Congress Party faction, that's part of the Mahayuti alliance, has fielded Sunetra Pawar from the high-profile Baramati constituency. Sunetra Pawar will be contesting against her sister-in-law Supriya Sule, the daughter of Sharad Pawar, the chief of the other NCP faction that is part of the opposition alliance. The Pawar clan and their Nationalist Congress Party stand split into two parts. The Sharad Pawar faction going to the opposition benches and the Ajit Pawar side joining hands with the ruling alliance. It will be war between two Pawar women at the hustings. Moving down south, the Congress Party's list of candidates in Andhra Pradesh includes Y.S. Sharmila, who incidentally is the sister of Y.S. Jagan Mohan Reddy, the Congress's arch-foe. There's little doubt that Jagan will put up his party candidate against his sister from Kadapa. It's another electoral war within a family. Let's see where this one is headed. Some 2 months of high-decibel electioneering to come promises to throw up some unique contests and strange bedfellows. Watch this space.
And while talking about elections, India's Met Department has issued heatwave alert during the voting period. Temperatures are soaring across India. Crop damage, water scarcity are other major concerns.
Soaring temperatures, reservoirs hitting their lowest March levels in 5 years, and scarcity of drinking water. India is likely to experience more heatwave days than normal between April and June. That's the indication from the India Meteorological Department. The Weather Office said that the conditions will potentially hit agricultural production and might hamper government efforts to bring down food inflation. In the April-June period, various parts of the country could record 10 to 20 heatwave days compared to the normal 4 to 8 days. India is the world's second-largest wheat producer. A heatwave for the third year in a row could dent the production of wheat rapeseed and chickpeas and also lift power demand above supply during the summer season. Remember, just 2 years back, heatwave curtailed India's wheat production, forcing it to ban exports. Then there is a water crisis, another issue that India is already tackling amid rising temperatures. Government data revealed that the 150 reservoirs, which primarily supply water for drinking and irrigation and are the country's key source of hydroelectricity, were filled to just 40% of capacity at the end of March. In Karnataka, home to Bengaluru, the main reservoir was down to 16% capacity. The so-called Silicon Valley of India is grappling with severe water scarcity. Many out-of-state workers who made Bengaluru their home are looking to head back to their hometowns away from the city. The situation could escalate the crisis in the central and southern Indian cities, which face extreme heat waves in April and May. India's water resources get replenished only around June with pre-monsoon and monsoon rains. In other industrial states such as Maharashtra and Andhra Pradesh and agricultural states Uttar Pradesh and Punjab, levels are below their 10-year averages. The extreme weather could also impact the world's largest parliamentary elections. Spanning over 7 weeks, India is all set to hold its general elections from the 19th of April. Nearly 1 billion people will be eligible to vote, and election campaigning has already begun. Searing temperatures in India's southern Tamil Nadu are making it difficult to hold massive election rallies and pull crowds. Temperatures have soared close to 39 degrees Celsius in recent days in the coastal state. Humidity is making it difficult for political parties to draw sizable crowds for their rallies ahead of the elections. Several political parties were seen moving their roadshow events to early morning or the evening.
Due to the persistence of heatwave conditions, we are taking precautionary measures to reduce its effect on people.
Separately, India's Power Ministry will look at using an emergency rule to run gas-fired power plants during the summer. This will be part of a series of measures to ensure uninterrupted supplies. Other parts of India too are bracing up for intense heat wave. Traffic police in Gujarat were seen distributing oral rehydration solution sachets to people commuting under scorching sun. Traffic authorities also implemented blinker mode at several junctions to reduce the waiting time at signals during peak hours of torrid heat in the afternoon. The above normal temperatures have been predicted for the next few weeks by the IMD, and many alerts have been issued. Remember, this is just the beginning of April, and the advice is to take utmost precautions in the coming days.
And well, India has recently announced plans to enhance solar power in the country to align with its broader push for sustainability. Major domestic and foreign players are pushing gears to capitalize on the increased focus on solar energy. Here's more in our next report.
India is looking to reduce its dependence on fossil fuels and embrace renewable sources of energy. Within these renewable sources, solar energy is gaining traction, with many companies announcing plans to expand their solar footprint. However, India currently lags behind in this area, with a current installed rooftop capacity of less than 15 gigawatt. To bridge this gap, the government has announced a renewed focus on rooftop solar in the recent budget. A key challenge identified is the affordability of installations, particularly for small households.
The fact that it is not cost effective is absolutely a total myth. In fact, in India, we have the most cost effective power when it comes to solar energy. We are already at ₹4 a unit, which is at grid parity, if not cheaper. The other piece is also that when you think about, the cost decline in panel technology, it has come down by something like 78% over the last 10 years.
The Indian government has taken a significant step towards achieving its renewable energy goals by allocating substantial funds in the recent interim budget. $1.2 billion has been dedicated to solar power, a major increase from the previous year's allocation. This financial boost aims to accelerate rooftop solar adoption and propel India towards its ambitious solar targets.
India is a very important market for us. It's the third largest market for us globally. We are committed to India. We have 30 manufacturing locations here. Already we employ 37,000 people. We do our R&D here. We do our manufacturing here. And more importantly, we are doing that not just for India. We are doing India for India and India for globe.
With all these investments, the country awaits a new dawn as it sets eyes on becoming a renewable energy-driven economy.